Hello and welcome to the 50th New Directors, New Films, presented by Film at Lincoln Center and the Museum of Modern Art. My name is Tyler Wilson. I'm a programmer from FLC, as well as one of the members of the festival's selection committee. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Kateryna Gornostai to discuss her debut feature, Stop-Zemlia. Kateryna, hello. Thanks for
Hello,
joining.
people on that side of the world and screen.
New York.
Sorry.
Maybe hello from New York, and I guess everyone will have access to this discussion, across the country. But maybe you can tell us where you're calling in from right now.
I'm calling from Ukraine, from Kiev, and yeah, that's April. Kiev and Ukraine. Yeah.
Okay. All right, good to know we're in the same sort of calendar month, at least.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, I guess first of all, I want to thank you for the work. Really, it's becoming for me one of those films that I keep coming back to. When I least expect it, to certain images, the performances, which are, I think, incredible. Certain lines of dialogue, the pacing, just how the film moves. The way you render this like network of teenage relationships with such honesty and tenderness and patience, I think really shows. So yeah, thank you for sharing this film with us. I expect our audience will really enjoy it as well. But yeah, I'm anxious to learn more about your approach to as much as it makes sense to get to during this discussion. But maybe we can start with an obvious question, which is how and when this film started for you.
It started from really simple idea, from the idea of one scene, which is the final scene at the discotheque. So this is the dances at school, and I remember just this story of my childhood, of my school years, when I was in love with a guy, and it was not so a lot of things we can be together in. We were in one class, and we were attending one music school, and that's all. And I couldn't do any move towards him. So that was the one of the evening at school. We had this discotheque, and I proposed him to dance, and that's it. That was like the really small thing from my teenage years, but that was huge in terms of some, I don't know, sensual experience, as I realized it later, because it was the first time when I did something I really wanted to do. So I feel that I can be powerful, to do something I want to do. But on the other hand, it was really bitter feeling that it's not so easy, because such things are always connected to other person, and other person willing, and other person wishes. And if the person is not into you, you can do nothing about it. So this was like the first moment when I realized this really ambivalent and really interesting feeling that maybe it's not the main thing. And after that, then I started to write a short movie about that, and it was really simple. And then I started to think of other things that I had in school, and friendship is as really important thing of that age and of that time. And it started to grow more and more, from that kind of to unfold from that moment to the some 5-period day of winter of last school year, and the story of friends and the whole class. So it appeared like it started to be like full feature script from that point. And yeah, and it was changing a lot. before we started shooting, because it was written by my memories at first, and then when I found these teenagers, they're non-professional actors, they started to feel these characters feel with their own features, and it began to be really full-blooded and really interesting from their perspective and in their time, because I really wanted to be the story modern, to be 2020 film, you know, about this kind of 2020, not like pandemic 2020, but 2020 in terms of their modern reality, not the reality of my school years that was in 2006. So it was not so a lot of time ago, but it was some time ago, and everything's changing because because of everything, actually. Yes. So
at least no Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram and phones. We have this, you know, phones with the with the buttons, and we had them only in last years of like 10th and 11th grade. It was the first time for us that we have this technology even. So yeah, they are really advanced in comparison to us at that period.
Yeah. Well, I'm really interested to hear about the casting process, and just generally how you worked with each of the students. But maybe before we get to and actually this might be even just a way into that question anyway. But you know, you have a documentary film background, and I believe you also teach documentary filmmaking in Kiev. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so we get a sense of, you know, a kind of nonfiction strategy in the film with these interview segments that you place throughout the film. But I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about how that documentary and even teaching experience that you have informed the filmmaking process for this project.
I think it's maybe two things that are really interesting for me, actually. Two things that are from documentary cinema came to our work, I guess. One of them, it's a term I don't know if it's made by me or maybe it's made by some other filmmakers or maybe theoretics of documentary cinema or something like that, but I thought about that a lot. In documentary cinema, I was working like editing, like an editor, and one really it was the start of my work in documentary films, like an editor in one documentary project, and our task was to gather the material from real people and to form really small films about them, like 2 or 3 minutes. But we looked and edited through the material of maybe 8 hours, for example, or 3 hours. So you looked all through all the material, and then had this kind of a 3 minutes film about this person. But in this person had filmed themselves, so it was like the autobiographical material that was in hands of editors, and we were doing this kind of a reality documentary project. Actually, it's named Reality, like reality, реальность in Ukrainian, and that was really interesting thing when I noticed that I'm really fond of this. Small pieces of life that are always not so important maybe in fiction films, you know, when, for example, different people use different techniques to, for example, make some tea or something like that. So this is kind of a different habits. For example, one guy, he had this kind of a thing that he placed the tea bag inside the cup and then switched this kind of a tail of a tea bag on the cup, not to for the tail not to go into the cup, for example. And this is really unique thing I really like about real people, you know. And I started noticing such things and named them something like life garbage or something like that, because we are not noticing how we're doing it in real life, but with that really routine things and really small details of your environment, the real world is appearing. So this is one really great thing I really want to have in the fiction films, to depict a world that have this kind of small, unique but universal habits and routines and of the characters and some real things, you know. And another thing that I really like in documentary cinema is the relationship between director and the character of the film, or I don't know, a hero of the film. In documentary cinema, it's something like a relationship. Actually, it's not a work. It's when your character, he or she, or this person needs to have some answers to the question, some question that appears in life, and the director of this film helps this person to not to answer the question, but to formulate the question. You know, I guess the good documentary film, it's not teaches us something, but it gives this kind of a formulated question of some problem. And while you're doing it with a character, you're living through the period of life. And this period of life is like you're living through a relationship with people. So it's not even the like romantic relationship or friendship. It's something really interesting. It's something between this, because you're really close to the person, you know everything about it, about him or about her, and you like you appear to be another people after you finish filming. I don't know how to explain it. And maybe in our project, I want to believe it. In our project, we have this approach of documentary relationship between me and the crew and the actors, because we were really close with them. And I guess this helped to make this story real, and it helped to live through this story with them, because I guess that I really didn't want it to be, you know, like somebody would picture something in front of the camera. I really want for the actor to like to live through some reality that we construct together with them and the crew. So yeah, that's the kind of a thing that I really appreciate, and really it's important for me in documentary films. And this is the thing that with students we always talk about it, kind of working on documentary films and motivation and this relationships between director and the character. And with students at documentary cinema, we always I think it's really not so important that it's like a documentary or something. It's about doing some forms, you know. Every film studies, it's for me, it's to realizing and to feel in the form of the film, because every film have a form. If it's a documentary or fiction, it's not really important, because it has a form and you need to feel how to construct it. And we have had with our actors of Stop-Zemlia, we had this 2 months laboratory where we, one of the trajectories of work with our non-professional actors were this feeling of form, because for me, it was really important for me to work with them like with the documentary students too, because I believe that a good actor knows his dramaturgy, you know, when each actor knows how his character begins in the story and how it ends, and how the story is going through all these kind of things inside of the script. And for me, it was really interesting to write text with them and to maybe have some video diaries for them to understand how the cinema works and how this form could be constructed in a cinema. So this was kind of one of the preparation strategies that we have with actors. I don't know.
No, yeah, there's a lot there, and well, first, the laboratory that you mentioned, how long did that last? I'm not sure if you mentioned.
It was only 9 weeks, so it's like less more than 2 months. It was not so big, but it was 3 times a week, and it was really cool place where we were together, and they didn't know each other before the casting, and I really wanted them to feel this kind of a unity, you know, that for them to begin feeling themselves like a whole class, like a group of people, because it was really important. I guess this thing you couldn't I forgot the word, but you couldn't play that in front of the camera. You could only show if you really feeling something to another person. I guess the main thing of the laboratory was this kind of a thing. We had it like some this dramaturgy classes and singing and etudes and some actors labs and movement techniques and something like that. Yeah, we had all that, but the most wonderful thing for me was that they became the whole class. So they became friends and close people to each other, and yeah, that was our main goal of the laboratory.
So that's interesting. You also had them singing and studying like choreography.
You know, it's not like a choreography in terms of that we wanted them to dance, for example. No, that was the techniques for them to feel free to move. Just that, just for them to feel free in any different kind of doing something with the world. So they I want them to improvise in movement with the voice, and so it was not about have some kind of good dancers or good singers out of them, but people that are interested of doing something together. Maybe that was like the case of our laboratory.
Yeah, to like essentially to get them comfortable in their own skin and
yeah, and comfortable with us and comfortable with the camera. We had all this kind of we were filming all the time, so this laboratory was filmed from the beginning to the end, because it was really important for us, for them not to notice the camera. It was not the camera we used in the film and not the setting, no, but it was the first step, just for them to feel free and not to notice like the small camera of documentary videographer that was on laboratory with us. Yes.
So the interview segments that are in the film, that's not actually part of the laboratory, or was it?
If we talk, laboratory was like a preparation to the film, but before the laboratory we have this casting period, and it was really interesting for us because one of the stage of this casting period was this interviews. So actually we had like two-way casting. One way was this open call, and everybody could apply for the casting through internet, and another way was a research. So we managed to go to real schools and to do some research there. We just went there, sit on lessons, and watched actually the kids on lessons. And then after that, we had some portraits of them, and then really wanted them to came to our office for the interview. So the interview was a really logical part of this casting, and another kids were going to us through this application form. So we made a lot of interviews with them, and it was for me one of the fascinating periods, because the whole world came to our office to talk about themselves, and at that point I realized that you can do, I don't know, a series of films about teenagers of Ukraine from different perspectives. So from the perspective of the um, guys and girls that moved from eastern regions where the war is going on, and this is the whole great part where a lot of trauma lies, because this is really ongoing war, and everything is going there, you know. And for me it was really interesting to have this character with such conflict inside, that he was replaced when the war started 5 years ago. So he began, now he's totally from that place where he going to school, and but some kind of memories are inside of him as it was, and they are doing something there. So and from that period of interviews, the script was like remade, and not remade, but it was growing in some details and characters, modern characters. And I, when we were shooting the film, I realized that I really want to have these interviews again, but in our setting with our camera. And it was one of the like. It was at the end of shooting process. We made these interviews one more time with some of the characters, and I don't know. It was like it felt like something right to have in a film, you know, because I really wanted them to talk like for themselves, but not really for themselves, but through this lens of a character that they are already depict in this film as an actor. So this was something like you may not say that it's a documentary. It's not fully documentary. It's something like maybe I don't know. I forgot the word of this genre. But yeah, you.
Well, yeah, it does have a sort of
Yeah.
hybrid strategy about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, they're real people reflecting on themselves, but through a character that is also a representation of at least a version of them. So yeah, it's complicated, and it adds a really, you know, fascinating and just interesting
for me it was.
layers.
For me, it was really interesting that they we talked before the interviews. We talked with them what features they want to express in interviews, and what features they don't. And it was up to them what they can talk about it from their like real self, and what they are not want to express in front of the camera. So some details of these interviews are real about them and some are not. And for me, it's the most interesting that I don't want to, you know, to say that, oh, this was real and this was the fiction, like it was from the script. Because I guess this is the most interesting part. And it doesn't matter actually what is real in that interview, because such characters existing, and it could be real, not in their life, but in life of people that have this conflicts and problems. So yeah, that's kind of like that. This is up to them to reveal later what was real and what was scripted. But the interview were made truly like a documentary interview. So we didn't have some repeats and doubles. It was like from the beginning to the end, just a talk with them. Because for me, it was really interesting to talk to them like we were talking a lot before.
To go off of what you just said, it's not unusual these days to see films that blend narrative and documentary elements, but I think your film in particular, you know, shows a rare sense of how generative and inventive that can really be without sacrifice to honesty, or sort of a larger element of truth about these people and their experiences. yeah, I think the care that you have for everyone in this film really shows. But yeah, I guess before we run out of time, I do want to kind of pull back a little bit to your casting process, and just I'm just kind of curious to hear more about what your encounters with each of the students sort of looked like, what they felt like, and sort of during this open call or when you were observing classrooms. I'm just wondering what ideas you were bringing to this stage of the selection process to identify this class of people. What were you looking for, and what were you surprised by? If we had enough time, I'd love to hear like you speak about each of these students, because they're really so fascinating. Everyone has their moment in the film, and this could become for me, like I would watch, an entire series about this, or an 8-hour film about each of these students. But maybe, I guess, for the sake of time, we can focus on, how you found Masha and Senya and Sasha and Yana. Yeah. Wherever you'd like to start, or if you do want to speak just generally about it too, I'd love to hear more.
Just a couple things of, like, generally speaking, it was, for me, the casting is one of the, like, I don't know, I really love to do the casting. I would do the casting even for different films too. I now I'm thinking about it, because I think that it's one of the are really frightened to in production. I'm kind of a director that tries not to be visible, I guess, during the production period. But casting, I love a lot, and I really have a lot of pleasure to do it and to meet these people. Also, although I'm afraid of people, but I really love them. But in this particular thing, it was really interesting because, when you have this script and you have this kind of a functions of characters there in a script, they are not a real people before you met a real people that would be placed in the script, but you pay attention on some core characters you have. So as you mentioned, Masha and Sasha, and you looking for them at the first place. So you're looking for them, but on some stage of casting, I started to not to look for somebody in particular, but just to talk with these teenagers, and I started realizing that they are really interesting in so many ways. That, for example, I'm talking with a girl, and on some level, I understand that she's not my main character, not Masha, because she's have another features of the. She's completely different. She's really open-hearted, and she's really active, and she's really loud. It's not the character I scripted in Stop-Zemlia, not the main character, but I really love to talk with her, and I'm realizing that maybe this girl, she's the main hero of some of another film. And that was really common story with me. Then I started realizing that I'm gathering the class of really interesting people. They are so different, and they are different not because I try to pick the different people, but just they are different because they are. And on that moment, I even started thinking that maybe I would be really changing the main character just to how to say it. You can imagine we have this the whole casting process, and then we have 25 people in the class, and we started preparing this laboratory. And on that moment, we didn't read the script with them, so they didn't know the story, and they didn't know how many of main characters we have in the script, and they didn't know anything about it. We decided that laboratory would be really free, without any competition, and it would be just a creative process with them. And I decided not to think what would be the main protagonist on that particular moment. I decided that we would be working in laboratory, and I would see, for example, some of them would open so widely that I would be changing the script a lot, for example. I was ready for that. So yeah, that was the thing, how they are all gathered in this class. And for the Masha, it's the miracle story for me, because we found her in a class. I was aware that the girl like her maybe wouldn't even think to apply on such a project, because she's really sometimes she's self-insecure, you know. Maybe I'm not the right person, maybe I'm not so like I don't know, not so beautiful, not so suitable for that story, and so on. And she was really yes, she had a really hard times with this kind of being in this collective of the class, and because she's an outsider in her nature. And yeah, that was a really great thing that we just went into the class. They have a mathematics lesson or something like that, and she was sitting there with this really short hair, and I just saw her, and then I realized that she's really interesting, and I need not to watch her so sharply, because she would be you know, it's really frightens people when you watch at them so directly. And yeah, and for me it was a great story of finding not even a main actress in the film, but maybe some kind of a soulmate at that period of time, because there's a lot of time after that we have this relationship, and we have different stages of this relationship. It was the falling in love, and the love period, and the hate period too, and all other periods. And yeah, I'm looking after her in some way now, maybe now from a distance, but yeah, that's kind of with her, this is really she was the, I don't know, the symbol of the previous year for me, as a person that I was in a great connection with. Yeah, so this was the thing that for me was the most important during the shooting period, because yeah, that was kind of yeah.
No, yeah, it's really fascinating to, you know, to hear that they, even after they were selected, they didn't quite know where they would fit into this film. And yeah, again, it really just shows in the film that this came about really organically. I think I only have time for maybe one more question. And I want to turn back to something that you sort of alluded to earlier, which is sort of the finding the form and the shape of the film. Because, you know, we talked about there is this clear plot focus on Masha, I guess you can say, with, you know, her attraction to Sasha, and you know, this sort of kind of mystery element around her secret admirer. But obviously the film amounts to much more than that once we get a sense of each of these students. And I'm just wondering if you can speak a little bit about how you worked with your editor to find the shape of the film, but maybe not so much the shape, but
a balance, I guess.
The rhythm, yeah, the rhythm of the film. There is this a really kind of dreamy, quiet pace to it, and yeah, I'm just wondering if that tone was clear to you back when you had this more conceptual script, or, you know, how much of the style, or that yeah, just the general tone of it changed between, you know, your script and actually just finally getting to know who your characters were.
The first thing that shaped the script was our decision with the DOP to have more fiction form instead of a documentary form of telling this story, because our previous work, they were fiction short films, but they were done in a documentary style more than we wanted it to be, you know. When the DOP and the camera is so free to observe everything around it, that you're not in control in all of things around you, and have no ability to edit it like you wanted it to edit. Yeah, I don't know. And in terms of lighting and the setting and everything like that. And in this feature film, we decided to make it like a fiction more, but to have this like a documentary living characters inside of a frame, but the frame should be more fiction in terms of lighting, setting, and the movement of the camera and something like that. That was the like first level of the shaping the material, and we realized that we have different characters with different attitudes. For example, Masha is shot maybe freely and with a lot of movement, and Sasha is static in a way. He has a lot of static shots because he's more of a blank character. He didn't know how to feel himself in different situations that he had in the film. And another really important thing for me was after that laboratory, because before that we have the script where we have 4 main characters and 4 more secondary characters, and that was that. And when we had this class of 25, I realized that they are so interesting that I really want for them to be in the film. As you said, they have a moment in the film. I really wanted and struggled for everybody to have this moment inside of this story. And on that, at that moment, with them, we started to develop in this kind of a secondary and third levels of the characters that they would do in this kind of a universe inside this class. They would do, so we decided for them to have these small scenes with everybody. We shot it like that. And after the production period ended, we started to go through all this material, and that was our main challenges because we have like 3 kinds of material. We have this fiction material that contains Masha and Sasha and a lot of these storylines of other characters. We have this material of documentary look-like interviews that are like static mostly, and they are from different nature. And we have this kind of a third kind of a material of this dreamy sequence we had with Masha. And for us, it was the main problem during editing process to balance all these kinds of material, because for example, it's hard to have this construction of a story where you have 2 protagonists. Masha and Sasha, they are like 2 protagonists, and the trick is to do not equal parts, to have Masha more in a story and to have Sasha less and condensed inside the story. I really like this kind of a feeling that after all, this film is not about them, like only 2 these people. It's about the whole class and about this, like about the collective of these people that are have their own small stories, and we have this dossier of the characters that have even full like transcription of their lives, where everything is written about them. What are their parents? What they want to do after school, for example. You know, this such a details that we couldn't place in the film, but for me it was really important to write it for them to know what their characters look like and what they had before this story that we are shooting, and what they do like after that. So at that point we realized that we really want to have them all there, and we realized it would be a really long film in terms of like the length to tell everything. And at that point we try to find this rhythm. This is the film where nothing really happens in terms of some great events. It's like the film about states. So the Masha is in this state of, for example, she's going from school and she's finally alone at her kitchen, and she's relaxed at last, because it was the whole school day and it was really nervous. She was really nervous there, and now she's relaxed. So this is kind of a film that's constructed on this kind of emotions and states of different characters that are they experiencing this emotion and states, like not some great events or nothing happens. Actually, you just watch people to feel something, like they're feeling something in their different places and different surrounds in different states. And so to not to be bored for the viewer, we try to find this not so like to have a boring film, but not a boring rhythm, like for the rhythm to be quick enough not to be bored inside this kind of not non-conflict dramaturgy. So yeah, we tried to find this kind of I'm really interested how the teenagers would actually watch this film, because I realized that it's not so common for them to see the story that is really looking like a reality and nothing is really happens there as in reality. But yeah, I'm really interested how they would be watching it, if it would be boring for them, or maybe not. Maybe it would be like something close for them, because a lot of teenagers live this boring life, where nothing is happening, and this is the film for them, because I was such a teenager.
Yeah. I also come from an area where, especially around winter, there's really not much to do, and so you're either at school or you're at someone else's house, and but I do have to say that, I mean, to me, of course, this film is never boring, and I think part of it is at least just I would imagine most people watching the film would inevitably respond to at least one of these characters, or at least one of the feelings that these characters represent, because I just think you touch on a range of what it felt like what it feels like to be a teenager in high school, and at that period of leaving school, and about like to enter a new stage in your life. And some of these feelings are more obvious in your film, and there are other elements that are subtle. You mentioned Cynthia's like a background of coming from a kind of war-torn or war-conflicted place, and being upended by that, or having a sort of peculiar relationship with a parent, getting a sense of who might who could have been bullied, or even though that's not in the film explicitly. Maybe I'll just end on one other question, which you're wondering about what it might be like for teenagers to watch this film, and I hope many teenagers will watch this film, but I'm just curious what the students in the film sort of think of the film. I would imagine they've seen it at this point. And
no, actually, they haven't seen it, and they really waiting for the moment when we would have a great and a real screening with them, because I don't want for them to see it on a small screen, because that was a huge experience for me and for the whole crew and for them. And I really want to live through this experience as it should be. So with an audience, with a great screen, with a cool sound, with a great color we had, we worked a lot in post-production to make this like an experience. And I really want them to feel how other people with them are watching it. And yeah, that's a tough times for all of us as filmmakers now, because now in Ukraine, for example, the cinemas are not working because we have this quarantine. It's really strict, and we uh, don't know when we would have a opportunity to go to the cinema. And but but it's really important for people to uh, to live through that experiences, not to go only on small screens, and but to be together and to be real in that. So yeah, this is the thing I really wanted, and I'm waiting uh, uh, for this opportunity to come to see this film with them on a real screen.
Yeah, they can see it as a class.
Yeah, and a lot of parents, I guess, and a lot of friends. I think that it would be the half the half of a whole for them. Like, they would be really. I know I'm thinking a lot about that moment and really waiting for the moment to come, because I think it would be really cool. That would be the coolest screening I would have, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be uh, worth the wait, but I hope you don't have to wait much longer. Um, but I think we're out of time for this conversation. But Kateryna, thank you so much for your film and taking the time to talk more about it. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having the film. And that was a dream come true in some a little step to be in New York. So yeah, the film would make this dream come true in one really small but really significant for me way. Yeah.
Hopefully, for your next film, you can
Okay.
actually be. All right. Thanks, Kateryna.
Thank you. Thank you.